Welcome back, Truth Seeker. Friday, December 14th, 2018. Lots to talk about today. Unfortunately, there's going to be a very heavy theme of death. A lot of deaths in the headlines. Of course, we're on that killing date in numerology terms, December 14th, 2018. Before we get to the current news, just go back over some headlines from history. So it was this day 6 years ago that the Sandy Hook Elementary School shooting occurred in Newtown, Connecticut. And something interesting you can show friends and family about the Sandy Hook shooting is this. If you do a web search, you'll see that there were a number of stories reported that Adam Lanza, the shooter, was 112 pounds. And I didn't know GEmatria when this first happened, but I was trying to figure out what was really going on in this story because I saw the news media apologize for showing footage of a drill that was happening at a school 15 miles away instead of the actual Sandy Hook school campus. I thought, that's interesting. They accidentally showed a drill at another school and a news story that had everybody freaking out. Again, when this happened, I was teaching at a private school outside of Seattle, Washington, and it was a relatively well-to-do school. The children who attended there, the parents who had their children there, and a lot of stay-at-home moms, and overwhelmingly, they were funneling into the school, picking up their children early that day because they were terrified of what they'd seen in the news. And I said to a coworker, I haven't seen people freak out this bad since September 11, 2001. And lo and behold, what everyone was watching on news that day was a drill taking place at another school, which again, the media apologized for the day after. And then the other thing I thought was interesting is the supposed shooter. They said he had the identification of his brother, and his brother was arrested in New York where he was going to university. So I was looking at this, and then I was also going, why are they reporting that he weighs 112 pounds? I said, because I think they said he was like 6'2" or something. And I was like, what 6 foot plus man weighs 112 pounds? Is that even possible? I mean, it's like a skeleton. And it was, about a year later that I finally figured out this GEmatria thing. And when I did, I went back and looked at this. Said, I wonder if the 112 had something to do with the coding in the Sandy Hook shooting. So all of these different publications reported that Adam Lanza was 112 pounds. They'd say it on the news. It would be published in, every publication there was. And then what I noticed later when I started doing this research is that Adam Lanza, his birthday is April 22nd, which is the 112th day of the year. April 22nd, the 112th day of the year, to go with the 112 pounds. Well, what 112 is it's the alt emergency dialing code. And if you write out Sandy Hook, just using the alphabetic order, Sandy Hook is 112. This is where S is the 19th letter, A is the first, N is the 14th, D is the fourth, so on. So I said, okay, now I see Adam Lanza, 112 pounds, born on the 112th day of the year, 112, the alt dialing code to 911. I haven't seen people freak out this bad since 911. Things were starting to add up. Something else about the name Sandy Hook, you see that it's 40 in reduction. That's a special number in itself. United States is 40, US is 40. Story that had the whole nation freaking out. If you use the rule for S and K, Sandy Hook is 58. And we know what's special about that number, right? Freemasonry is 58. Secret societies, 58. A whole lot of things that have to do with Freemasonry are 58. And the date of the Sandy Hook shooting, December 4th, 2012, 12 plus 14 plus 20 plus 12, date with 58 numerology. Not by accident. We see this number coded again and again into these incidents. It was coded into the Aurora shooting, which was synced up with this. Remember, in the film Batman, The Dark Knight Rises, the Aurora shooting was the premiere of that movie. That movie was showing. in the film Batman The Dark Knight Rises, it shows the Gotham City skyline, and for the first time in the history of the movie, there was a big bright sign that said Aurora, like the theater that got shot up. And the other thing that was new to that movie is they changed the town or the city neighborhood on the Gotham map. They changed it from South Hinckley to Sandy Hook. For years in the Batman franchise, the map of Gotham, the neighborhood had been called South Hinckley. And for that film, they changed it to Sandy Hook. And from the theater shooting to the Sandy Hook shooting, it was 147 days apart. Another tribute to the Freemasons. And then who can forget that Newtown equals 33 in our most pure cipher? Just like Robbie's 33, just like Parker's 33. Remember the smiling parent, Robbie Parker, who wanted you to donate money to him through Facebook, bringing it back to 58. So anyway, you know, the other thing about Newtown, Connecticut is that school is right across the street from the nation's second biggest gun lobby, to the NRA. And Sandy Hook and the news that came out of it, it boosted gun sales through the roof. You know, there were record gun and ammunition sales in the wake of Sandy Hook because of the way it was covered. A lot of people were afraid that their guns would be taken away, so they went out and bought them while they could. And the other thing that's interesting about the date December 14th, which we'll talk more about in a moment, is it has this gematria of 187. And even if you write out 1214, you know, another way to express the date, it's also 187. Fraternal Order of Police is 187, used as a homicide code by many police departments. So there's a whole lot more to the Sandy Hook riddle. If you've read my book, you know, I got a chapter on all the mass shootings by the numbers over the decades with a whole lot more information on Sandy Hook. As for the name Adam Lanza, just with the alphabetic order, it's 73. The Dune Blaine massacre, Dune Blaine, 73, like Adam Lanza. The Dune Blaine massacre got gun rights taken away in the UK. It was a random shooting in an elementary school of first graders. In my book, I show how those two incidents are synced up. So those are just a few important points on Sandy Hook. I guess real quick, because we're going to talk about Columbine, how it ended up making in the news yesterday, after I talked about it in yesterday's podcast. Derek made this great observation last year when we were talking about 612. He built on the riddle. From the Dune Blaine massacre, which was March 13th, 1996, which was the 73rd day of the year, like how Dune Blaine's 73, like how Adam Lanza's 73, like how the word Mason is 73, like how United is 73, you know, United Kingdom, United States, Masonic nations. From March 13th, 96, the Dune Blaine massacre, to December 14th, 2012, the Sandy Hook shooting was 6,120 days. Notice the 612 in the beginning, because Dune Blaine massacre in Jewish gematria is 612. Columbine High School, 612. Orlando Strong, remember this shooting was on June 12th. Orlando Strong, 612. From the Orlando shooting to the Valentine's Day Stoneman Douglas shooting was 612 days later. Valentine 612 in Sumerian gematria, police 612. You know, I should also mention that Dune Blaine, Adam Lanza, both 73. Elementary schools also 73. And the date of the Dune Blaine massacre, March 13th, 96, was a date with 112 numerology, like how Sandy Hook's 112. And there's a whole lot more to this. Marjorie Stoneman Douglas, the Stoneman Douglas High School, which is part of the 612 riddle, she was from Minneapolis, the 612 area code, and this came just after the Super Bowl where the Eagles won, who have the same mascot as Stoneman Douglas. And we pointed out how the last time the Patriots and Eagles had played in the NFL before meeting on the Super Bowl was December 6th, another date that can be written 6/12, kind of like how George Herbert Walker Bush, his birthday is June 12th. He was buried December 6th, both 6/12 dates. So anyway, some very, very familiar patterns. A lot of overlap with Stoneman Douglas High School and Sandy Hook Elementary School. And again, there's a whole lot more to this. I'm just giving you the quick, easy to digest number synchronicities in some of these major events in recent history. So, with regards to the 187 thing, George Washington died on this day in history at age 67. He died unexpectedly. Blood sacrifice, 67. Think about the date July 6th. We write, or, a lot of the world writes that date 6/7, like 67. That's the 187th day of the year. That's George W. Bush's birthday, July 6th, born on the 187th day. George Washington equals 187, Washington, D.C., 187, December 14th, 187, 12/14, 187. What a day for George Washington to die at age 67. Ancient accepted Scottish rite of Freemasonry, 187. Also on this day in history, in 1972, Apollo 17 astronauts Harrison Schmitt and Eugene Cernan concluded their third and final moonwalk and blasted off for their rendezvous with the command module. How perfect. Apollo 17 on the day leaving 17 days left in the year, where Space and Mason both sum to 17. In 2005, on this day, President George W. Bush defended his decision to wage the Iraq War, even though he acknowledged they went there on bunk information. Oh my goodness. Who can remember Rumsfeld saying that they knew where the weapons were? They were in the areas north, south, east, and west of Baghdad. In other words, they were all over the place, but at the same time, they were nowhere. And I just couldn't believe anybody was still, falling for anything on TV when all this stuff was going on. I was like, what more do these people need to see to realize this is all a lie? Obviously, the election's a lie. We got the son of King George I, now King George II, who can't even formulate a sentence. We got crumbling towers turning to dust in midair, being blamed on plane crashes. I just couldn't believe that people were just falling for lie after lie. It's like, oh, God. Also, the thing about December 14th, the day this happened, 12 plus 14 is 26. We waged war on Afghanistan 26 days after September 11th. Crusades equals 26. And remember, there was this very Christian versus Islam element in all of this, especially with the rhetoric of the sitting president at the time, George W. Bush, and all of mainstream media. All of mainstream media, whether you're watching a channel that was considered liberal or conservative, they were all pushing the same type of hate and propaganda towards Islam. Also on this day in history, this is when the journalist threw the shoe at George W. Bush. I remember that like it was yesterday. It's hard to believe that was 10 years ago. And also with regards to the 12/14 thing, 12 plus 14, 26, they said there were 26 victims at Sandy Hook, another sign that it was numerological. And these are all the things I was thinking about before I knew Gematria when this story came up. Because like, man, numbers again, numbers. Just like on 9/11, it was numbers. And again, I'd seen this pattern with numbers in the news over the years, but I hadn't quite cracked what it was all about yet. I was still a year off when Sandy Hook happened. But 26 bells tolled for the Newtown, Connecticut victims on 12/14. And also a year ago today, I can't believe this was a year ago today. I felt like I just did this blog post. But this was the big net neutrality decision. And Verizon was at the heart of this decision. What I noticed is Verizon was established June 30th, 2000, which is the day leaving 184 days left in the year. And net neutrality equals 184. And from their establishment date to the decision was exactly 911 weeks later. I just thought that was so interesting. And, Verizon, their colors are red and black, like the Jesuits who operate the Vatican and used to have the Catholic colony where our federal government now is. But the reflection of 9/11 is 119, Vatican 119, Francis Church in the square ciphers 9/11. So Verizon and Catholic also have quite a bit of overlap. That was a year ago today, the net neutrality decision. And I wonder if that's part of the reason things like this are now happening. Have you guys noticed what they're doing with Gematrinator? Oh, today it just says not secure. Maybe it's when I go on Google Chrome. Maybe it's on Firefox. They just started putting up this Warning for Derek's website. Oh, it's not doing it today, but it's been doing it a lot in recent weeks. It'll put up this site like it's a dangerous site. And there's nothing dangerous about Derek's site, but they recently just started doing that. So I think that's scaring a lot of people away from the GEmatria. And I think it has something to do with this whole net neutrality thing. Anyway, in yesterday's podcast, I talked about this middle school shooting scare in Indiana by the numbers, why this news came the day it did. And I said what stood out to me was the person speaking out was named Police Sergeant John Bowling. And my thought on that was, bowling. That makes me think of the Columbine school shooting because they said that the shooters went bowling before they went on the massacre, which again is why Michael Moore made the movie Bowling for Columbine. Look what happened later in the day. Bomb threats made at Columbine High School, site of 1999 shooting. Again, this is what I'm talking about, how it's all a web of interconnected information and propaganda. I know it's not an accident that in this story they had Mr. Bowling go out. And then later in the day, you get Columbine in the news. How many times has Columbine been in the news since the day of the shooting in 1999? Maybe 10. So very tiny percentage. But on the same day as that shooting scare, you get this. It's just a joke. Yesterday also had the 43 date numerology. Colorado equals 43. Columbine's in Colorado. If you've read my book, or you don't even need to read my book, you can just go do the research. When the Columbine shooting happened, they said that the attackers, they had this fantasy that they'd written a journal about where they wanted to hijack aircraft and fly them into skyscrapers in New York City. And the attackers were Dylan Klebold and Eric Harris. Forget which one's got the birthday. It is Dylan Klebold. Look at what day Dylan Klebold's birthday supposedly is. September 11th. April 20th. This happened on the 110th day of the year. The World Trade Centers were 110 stories tall. Columbine's right next to where Lockheed Martin operates, the weapons contractor. I'm guessing some Lockheed Martin weaponry was used on the date of September 11th to create the destruction that happened, from the Pentagon to the fire in the field in Pennsylvania to whatever happened to the World Trade Centers. But go back and look it up. CNN, that was their feature story. These guys planned to hijack the aircraft and fly them into skyscrapers in New York City. And don't forget that it was CNN that broke the footage of the planes flying into the World Trade Center. And why Columbine High School in 99? Columbine High School 99. What are the what's that factor into? Is it 9 times 11? 9 times 11, 99? I bet that's just an accident too. So here we are. It's December 14th, 2018. It's the killing day. We got the 44 and the 64 date numerology, the kill numbers. I thought for sure we'd see a death of a man related to the NFL, because it's also approaching the NFL playoffs, and every year former football players start dropping dead in connection to the playoffs and the Super Bowl. And the one who's dead today is an Atlanta Falcon. Of course, the Falcons are hosting the Super Bowl this year. And get a load of this. This man was drafted in 85, 33 years ago. His final season was 93, 25 years ago, like how Falcons equals 25 in death. He wore the number 79. William equals 79. Murder 79. His first name's William, and by Bill Frolic. But look at this. He's dead on the date with 44 numerology. Also the date with 64 numerology. Remember, the word kill with the alphabetic order is 44, and when you flip the alphabetic order around, 64. Plus today leaves 17 days left in the year. He played for Georgia. For its final season, he played for Detroit. The only two teams he played for. Detroit's also 44. They say he died from cancer today. Cancer 44, chemo 44. But not only that, from his birthday, October 31st, to today is 44 days later. You know, what are the odds? You got the 44 date. He played for 244 cities, dead 44 days after his birthday. It just makes me sad that so many people watch these types of presentations and they leave comments like, "You're doing this again. Haven't you figured out all of this is a coincidence?" It's just like, I don't know what to say about you, man, or lady, or whoever you are. Coincidence. I mean, it's the same thing month after month. It's just perfect clockwork. By the way, the Super Bowl this year is on a date with 44 numerology, February 3rd, 2019. Notice October 31st, 1031. Lose the zero, you got 131, right? That's our big Super Bowl number. Super Bowl, the alphabetic order is 131, so it's championship. So, Bill Frolic, the name he went by in the NFL, sums to 84. The divisors of 44 sum to 84, meaning you add the numbers that divide into 44, they add up to 84. Atlanta, where he played, on the 84th meridian, the 33rd parallel, dead 33 years after being drafted. ATL 33, Mandorla 33, that's the shape of the football. In Satanic Gematria, NFL's 137, which is the 33rd prime. His full name, William P. Frolic Jr., at least how it's listed. I couldn't find what the P was for. And the most pure cipher, it's 82, also like Vesica Pisces. Remember, Vesica Pisces also 53, like how Super Bowl 53 upcoming. 107, like ritual sacrifice. A few other things that jump out about his name. It's hard to overlook that 223, the 48th prime, Atlanta 48. Bill Frolic 48. Frolic's got the Gematria 41, like Super Bowl 2. There's just a whole lot that jumps out here. 49 equates with Super Bowl and NFL as well. So here were his he started in 131 games too. How about that? Played from 85 to 93. Interstate 85. Remember how they burned that thing down as a Super Bowl ritual? They blamed it on a crackhead, if you can remember that story. Atlanta Falcons. Oh, no, I know what it is. It's Atlanta, Georgia. Atlanta, Georgia has that Gematria 85. So does National Football League. National Football League. Drafted in 85, this man. Murdered by the code. And again, dead 25 years since he exited the league. Remember how the Falcons gave up a 25-point lead on 2/5 in the very scripted Super Bowl? Scripted every year. They couldn't have scripted it any better. Here's another death in the media today. Hollywood film director dead at age 74. I noticed this publication said he was 77. Don't forget that theater equals 77. But it does seem that he's dead at 74. He was born in 44. From his birthday, July 29th, to his death today, December 14th, 139 days. His name is Tulsi Ramsey, 139. Freemasonry, 139 and 158. Again, dead at 74. Masonic killing, Gematria, English, 74. Dead on the date with 44 and 64 numerology. I'm sure you go back and look at his films, there's even more to this. But I'd already seen enough right there, you know. Again, I tell people to circle these dates with the 44 and 64 numerology because you're going to be able to spot the murder rituals that come around each month. And, you know, the guy who runs my, well, it's not mine. He created himself. He runs the page supporting this work. Daily Dose of Gematria on Facebook. He called me recently. He goes, the only thing that I think that your work's not right about is when you're talking about these people's deaths. It's like, it's hard to believe that people are actually being murdered by this code. And I thought that was funny because I was like, there's a song called Murder by Numbers. It's as simple as ABC 1, 2, 3. I don't know if this stuff all looks like a coincidence to you. I'm surprised the rest of the work catches on, but stuff's not an accident. You know, it always points in one direction, to the death cult that is Freemasonry. And I hate when people say it's not a death cult. I mean, what is it then? To become a member of the fraternity, you have to wear a blindfold with a noose around your neck. What's that? You know, to get your master Mason degree, your 3rd degree, you got to lay in a coffin with your blindfold. What is that if that's not a death cult? Got to sign the pledge form that says if you die in the lodge, nobody's responsible. Seems like a weird thing to have to sign. Imagine if I started a Gematria group. Yeah, we're going to have our Gematria group in this building over here with the no windows. We're a secret society, and I just need you to initial here, here, and here that if you die at any of our Gematria classes, we're not responsible. And, oh, by the way, also I need you to wear this noose around your neck and go lay in that coffin over there. Yeah, we're not a death cult. It's fine that people in this world are completely illogical. And I got a rant about that a little bit later with this whole Johnson & Johnson baby powder thing in the news today. I think my mother is the reason I'm the way I am, and we'll get to what I'm talking about. So another death today, a 73-year-old. He was a politician. Apparently he's been involved in a lot of things. Author, philosopher. He's involved in Formula One racing. From his birthday to his death today is 199 days later. 199 is the 46th prime number. Dead at 73. Sacrificed 73 and 46. Again, dead on the date with 44 and 64 numerology. And don't forget that when you write out December 14th, it sums to 187. Number associated with homicide. So those were the 3 deaths I saw this morning in the headlines. Another thing I just saw, search is on for overboard cruise passenger. This is today, breaking news just before I got on the air. They were on a 4-day cruise. No number associated with death. Here we are on the date with 44 numerology. He's 26 years old. 12 plus 14, 26. Kill has that Gematria 26 as well. This happened by the Florida Keys, which has Gematria 64. And again, just goes with the date numerology, right? I don't need to be super redundant. He was on a Carnival Victory ship, which sums to 213, like death and satanic Gematria. So be careful next time you plan your cruise on Carnival. Check the date numerology. Here's another good one. 4th victim dies in the Christmas market shooting. This is today, the date with the 44 numerology. Kill 44, shooting 44, gunfire 44. The 4th victim, really? We talked about yesterday how Strasbourg, France equals 187 like Paris, France. This news comes on December 14th. The Scottish Rite of Freemasonry that have the 187 connection, they have their long history in Washington, D.C. His initials, A.M. I didn't even run his name. Let's run his name. We'll do it. But just right away, his initials, A.M. A's the first letter, M's the 13th. 113, Scottish 113. Let's do his name real quick. I'm sure it'll be a winner. Okay. Antonio. So Gematria of 83 like murder. That's popping right away. Okay. See some things there. What's Antonio? Antonio's 34 and 38 like murder too. Another 88. Yeah, that's enough. I could go into greater detail, but he's got death-related numbers in the name. Here's another story. Sandra Locke, frequent co-star in Clint Eastwood films, dead at 74. Who wants to guess what Clint Eastwood equals in Gematria? Who wants to guess? So this news broke yesterday, December 13th, but this woman died November 3rd. And you got to go, well, why did they wait this long to release it? Now, look, the day she died relates to the day the news broke. December 13th, 2018 was a date with 63 numerology. Sandra Locke equals 63. November 3rd is the 307th day of the year. This is the day she died, which is the 63rd prime. Freemason in Jewish Gematria equals 307. Freemasonic has the Gematria of 63. And notice November 3rd leaves 58 days left in the year, like Freemasonry, like secret society. Now, she died at 74, right? We know Masonic 74, Jewish 74, killing 74, right on down the line. Look at Clint Eastwood, 74. She's an Oscar-nominated actress, and her death comes just before the Oscars as well. There's probably a connection there that I didn't even take the time to investigate. This also comes the day before the Clint Eastwood film releases, The Mill, which releases today, Friday, December 14th. Clint Eastwood's 88 years old right now. From his 88th birthday to her death was 156 days. 156 days. What stands out about that? When you write out 33, it equals 156. Hollywood's 33. The name of the film that comes out today, The Mule, is 33. You know, the film releases on a date with all these kill connections. It seems that this woman very well was offed by the numbers for the code. The woman died 159 days after her own birthday. Scottish Rite has the gematria of 159. The Scottish Rite, the most Jewish branch of Freemasonry. Jewish equals 74 and 88. She was 74. Clint was 88. Her name also has this gematria of 57, her birth name. Sandra Louise Anderson, Sandra 57, Sandra Anderson 57, and that same cipher, Scottish Rite 57. So there's other things that jump out there too, but again, I think that's enough. In the news today, the stabbing of a young college student. Apparently, she grew up in California, Redding, California. Just recently, her brother committed suicide, and now she was stabbed to death by her roommate. And I find that interesting. I'd like to know more about her family. 2 children dead in short order. But this news comes today, the day leaving 17 days left in the year. She was stabbed to death. Stabbed has that gematria of 17. Again, this news comes on the date with the 44 and 64 numerology. The news came today. Supposedly she was stabbed to death December 12th, 18. And where she was stabbed is Rotterdam, having this gematria of 42, like the singular stab. She was 21 years old. When you write out 2142, we know that's a big number with the Freemasons. Her name was Sarah Poppenheim, gematria of 73, the 21st prime, dead at 21. You know, sacrifice 73. The name of the university that she attended has this gematria of 96 and 42, like Freemason. Again, when you add the divisors of 42, it sums to 96. She was killed there on a date with 42 numerology. Very suspicious. I noticed the city where she was killed, Rotterdam, Netherlands, equals 95, like Redding, California. In the same cipher, the most pure of the base ciphers. And what was weird is as soon as I finished this post, what had loaded as the new top story was the Elisa Dushku, you know, getting this $9.5 million lawsuit. That tripped me out this morning. Sometimes things like that happen. I'm just like, that is so strange. I almost didn't even put the detail about 95 in there, but then I just wrote it down. Then I load the screen, and that's the number front and center on CNN's front page. We'll get to that story in a moment. We still got more deaths to cover. So Nancy Wilson, jazz singer, dead at 81. Again, another death that nobody's going to question. Most people are going to think, well, 81, that's a nice long life. My guess is Nancy Wilson could have lived a lot longer because she died on the most perfect day for what she was remembered for. She died yesterday, December 13th, 2018. It's today's news, though, the date with the kill numerology. But today has this yesterday when she died had the 63 date numerology, the 36 date numerology, and the 18 date numerology. And yesterday was the day leaving 18 days left in the year. Jazz, 63, 18, 18 in our base ciphers. Singer, 36, 36 in our base ciphers. She was a jazz singer. Dead at 81, the reflection of 18. And what do we call 81? The ritual number. Because with the alphabetic order and with the reverse alphabetic order, ritual equals 81. Wilson's biggest hit came in 64. The news on this date was 64 numerology. Her full name, Nancy Sue Wilson, and her shortened name, Nancy Wilson, has this gematria 59, number stamped all over Black history. She also died 42 weeks after her birthday, which is in Black History Month. February equals 42, ends on the 59th day. And there it is right there, 42 weeks and 2 days after. She died of a long illness. And the other thing that always weirds me out is just how often the manager is telling us this news. Oh. I guess they got the media contacts, huh? Oh, yeah. And person down here observed that to her upcoming birthday is 69 days from the date of her death, and she died on the 347th day of the year, which is the 69th prime. So that is also very interesting. That is very interesting. On this day in history, there were two deaths of two Yankees. Elston Howard died at age 51, and Roger Maris died at age 51. Both men who played for the New York Yankees, both dead at age 51. New York Yankees 187 like December 14th. 12 plus 14, 26. Yankees 26. 51's the conspiracy number. Remember, Roger Maris hit 61 and 61. 61's the 18th prime. Baseball 18. Prime 61. The number prime. The word prime has that gematria 61, like how there's 61 circles in the most important shape in sacred geometry. Flower of life. When Elston Howard died, it was on a date with 125 numerology. Pinstripes equal 125, what the Yankees are known for. When Maris died, it was a date with 111 numerology. New York, 111. So. Also in the headlines, and a similar type of story here. Julia Louis-Dreyfus' sister died earlier this year, and Julia just spoke out for the first time about it on December 12th. So the sister died August 13th. She spoke out for the first time December 12th, 121 days later. Blood sacrifice, 121. Supposedly her sister overdosed. Alcohol, cocaine in the woods. And notice how old the sister was. She was 44. She was 44 was her sister. Julia's 57 right now. The family surname has that gematria 57. Again, very special number to the Scottish Rite. Scottish Rite 57. Jews, the plural's 57. Entertainers 57. Julia Louis-Dreyfus, her full name 74, like Jewish, which she is, like Masonic, like killing. From her birthday to the death of her sister, 213 days. Death in Satanic Gematria 213. That's also 7 months and 1 day. And notice her sister who died at age 44, her name's 71. The date her sister died was a date with a life lesson number of 32. Reportedly, she took too much cocaine, which has gematria 32. It's also a date with 59 numerology. In Jewish gematria, kill equals 59. 59 is the 17th prime. Kill with this cipher, the reduction cipher, equals 17. When her father died, which was also recently, it was 8 months and 3 days after her birthday. Murder 83. Murder by Numbers came out in 83. Marion Marcus points out that she won the Mark Twain Prize recipient for comedy this year. And her sister died a span of 4 months, 3 weeks, 3 days. 433 is the 84th prime. Good work there. Again, her father just died at 84. Masonry's 84. It was also a span of 8 months and 4 days from her birthday to her father's death at 84. So last night they said that Donald Trump was at the illegal hush money meeting. Yesterday we talked about how hush money has the gematria that matches with president, Freemason conspiracy, how from the date that Michael Cohen, it came out that he had the recording of the tape from that day to these headlines was 147 days later. I wanted to go back and see when the hush money contract became official. The meeting was in 2015 in August. And look at this. The day that the contract for the hush money became official was August 5th, 2016. So a year after the meeting, but August 5th. I mean, come on. Come on. Weren't we just talking about 85 yesterday and also 58 in regards to this whole hush money thing? Donald Trump, the winner of the 58th U.S. presidential election after announcing he'd run from the 58-story Trump Tower and then hiring the 58-year-old Steve Ray on Inauguration Day. This entire thing is theatrics by a very repetitive script that just hits on the same numbers over and over and over. And I don't know how people don't see it. This was also a date with 49 numerology. Karen equals 49. So does Washington. So does Donald J. Trump. So does Scottish. So does America. So, of course, it was August 5th. Another story was in the headlines yesterday about Sandy Hook. Apparently, the FBI teamed up with this thing called Alert with 2 R's. It makes it so the response time to mass shootings is even faster than it was before. Couldn't help but notice the gematria of Alert, 74. Where have I seen that number before? So. Also today, December 14, 2018, the Dow having another bad day. Again, it's the roller coaster market, as predicted. Suspect it'll get a whole lot worse in 2019, Chaos 19, getting close to 2019. But anyhow, the Dow fell 400 points, and just before I started this podcast, it had fallen over 500 points. We'll see what it is by the end of the day. I think I can actually, it's probably close to the market right now. So right now it's looks like it went back to around where it was. I think the market should be closed by now. 24,100. They said that the reason for the fall today was because of Johnson & Johnson, it coming out that they used asbestos in their baby powder. And notice today has the 64 numerology. Johnson & Johnson 64, asbestos, known for causing cancer and killing people. When I was a child, and even up to the present, my mom still talks about all these major companies and the things they put in their food. My mom never put any baby powder on me. She never used any Johnson & Johnson products. She never used any toothpaste with fluoride. She never let the dentist give me any fluoride. I grew up in Portland, Oregon, one of the only cities that doesn't have fluoride in the water. My mom, when she was younger, she went to this convention, I've talked about this before, for something called Shaklee Products, Shaklee. They still exist, Shaklee. And they educated the audience, and I think they still do the same thing to this day. They educated the audience about all of these major brands that people use and all the very toxic chemicals that are inserted, including Johnson & Johnson. My mom's been talking about how asbestos and other things are in Johnson & Johnson baby powder since I was a baby. And she learned that at this Shaklee convention many years ago. So for this to be some revelation in 2018, I mean, this is just a joke. This information's been out there for decades. And, you know, it's sad that people don't wake up to the truth and the information that's been out in this world for a long time. Oftentimes when I'm at the grocery store, if I'm in the right place at the right time and I see somebody loading their basket full of Nestle brand bottled water, I'll always say something. I'll always say, you know, You should spend, because if you pay attention, Nestle bottled water is the cheapest, and that's why people buy it. It's significantly cheaper than the other bottled water brands. I'll always say to people when I say, you should think twice about that purchase. I recommend you get a water testing kit and compare that water with your tap water. You're going to find it's a lot more contaminated, and try it out against any of these other bottled water brands. You'll see that anything with Nestle, and the most common Nestle brand sold up here in the Pacific Northwest is Arrowhead, but they own a lot of different water brands, Nestle does. You can test them all. You'll see they are just so contaminated. You can get a water, one of these water testing pens at the store. It's probably like $20. Go buy, just do it for an experiment. Go buy all the different bottled water brands, compare with your tap water. It'll test between 0 and 1,000 parts per million contamination. And the average bottled water will test around 70 points contaminated, which isn't so bad. Up here in the Pacific Northwest, we have some of the better drinking bottled water, not bottled water. We have some of the better drinking water in the world. Typical faucet in the Pacific Northwest will test around 30 parts per million contamination, even better than most bottled water, which is, if people knew this, I don't think they'd be buying any bottled water up here. But some people have rusty pipes, and, if you have rusty pipes, that's going to contaminate your water more and give it the bad taste. So that's part of the reason some people go out and buy bottled water. But if you test Nestle brand, you'll be lucky to find one that's only contaminated around 300 parts per million, which is about 4 times worse than the average brand. A lot of their bottled water, it'll go all the way up to it'll like tap out at 1,000, because most of these water pens that test, they only go up to 1,000 parts per million. But consistently, Nestle will be between 300 and 1,000 parts per million for their bottled water brands. And it's not an accident. They're putting something in their water. Either that, or they're using like some cheap form of plastic that leaches. Something's going on with the Nestle brands, because I did that test over several years, showed several different groups of people. Admittedly, I haven't done it for a few years now, but I guarantee nothing's changed. So all sorts of government-sanctioned products in the marketplace are completely toxic. If you're someone who uses Clorox, like the wipes and all that stuff is horrible for you. It's probably better to just like lick the germs right off the table than wipe it down with that stuff. Might as well just be eating cancer. Johnson & Johnson, another terrible company. So this isn't some new revelation. And this is a joke that this causes the market to fall this hard, in one day. And it's all manipulated. It's all a puppet show. They have to keep coming up with a new excuse every day for their planned manipulation. That's the truth of the matter. And you see why it's Johnson & Johnson today. On the date was 64 numerology. The other thing I noticed about old baby powder over here, baby powder with the alphabetic order is 111, which means in Sumerian gematria, where you multiply the alphabetic order times 6, baby powder is 666. Like how Dow Jones is 666. Remember the 666-point fall on the 33rd day of the year earlier this year, February 2nd? Dow Jones also 33. So again, it's profit over people. They know that if they make us purposefully sick, they'll, milk us for all the illness, selling us all the drugs, the overpriced medical industry. It's what it is. They look at us as objects of profit. They're going to work us. They're going to tax us. Most of us, we're not doing that well in this world, but we're making big money for these corporations. They're exploiting our labor. They're overcharging us for their products, getting us sick on the pharmaceuticals. That's what it's about. Profit over people, using people for profit. But anyway, when I was saying earlier, when I tell most people in the grocery store, most people will just roll their eyes at me. They'll be like, oh, God, I'm saving my 10 cents per bottle of water here. All right. And that's also why I just hate this whole concept of, paying for other people and Social Security and all this crap. Like, I don't want to pay for these idiots. I want to see them die from cancer from their ignorance. I've been trying to educate people my whole life. They don't care. Oh, I don't care about that. I'm going to do what I want. And then they get sick, and then who do they want to bail them out? Everybody else. Nope, sorry. I don't got any sympathy for you. R.I.P. And that's the way it should be. Take care of yourself. Don't expect other people to take care of you. All right, next story. Facebook bug exposed millions of users' photos. Facebook reveals bug exposed 6.8 million users' photos. If you read the story, it's their private photos that got revealed, the ones that nobody's supposed to see. What do private photos equal? Oh, 68? Like 6.8 million? Wonder where they pulled that number out of the air from. And I'm just thinking about this, like how many people are on Facebook? It's way more than 6.8 million. So if people's private photos were exposed, why would it just be 6.8 million? It wouldn't be, just because they're making up headlines by the numbers. And remember, Mark Zuckerberg, who has the same birthday as Israel, May 14th. Israel's birthday is 48, his birthday is 84. And he used to go around with the Star of David on the inside of his hoodie. Where do you think all that Facebook information is going to? Today also has the 44 date numerology. The word private itself is 44. The private photos are what got exposed. Facebook announced on Friday that the social network had exposed the private photos of millions of users without their permission. I guess this happened back in September, so they had to wait till the end of the year when the date numerology was just right, I guess. How else would they do it? Here's another good one. Eliza Dushku received a secret settlement from CBS. She was sexually harassed, so she got $9.5 million. Oh, man. I used to have this gay guy harass me in Seattle public schools, and I told him to stop hitting on me. And he said, "You're finished in this district." Old gay man. And I got to tell you, I put up with this guy's gay homosexual harassment for a long time, and I didn't get any money for it. Where's my $9.5 million? Anyway, this happened with CBS, the All-Seeing Eye Network. Eliza Patricia Dushku, 119. 119. All-Seeing Eye, 119. Here's a story that's going to grab the mind's eye of the masses. 9.5 million. Supposedly this happened on the show Bull. I didn't even know this show existed, right? Maybe this story's a load of bull. But anyway, Bull, 4761, Eliza Dushku, 4761. This was her full name up here. It's just her actress, the name we know her by. All-Seeing Eye is also 61. To go back to that All-Seeing Eye network. If you pay attention each year, CBS in their NFL broadcast, they do the same thing every year. They only do it 1 week of the year. They'll say today is 119 days to the Super Bowl. They do it every year. Their little ritual. They won't do it any other weeks. The guy who was sexually harassing her is Michael Weatherly. And from his birthday, July 8th, to today is a span of 160 days. Look at Eliza Dushku in the base cipher is also 160. Wonder how they worked that one out. If you don't count the full span, it's 159 days later. Scottish Rite's 159. Scottish Rite's also 78. Michael Weatherly's 78. His birthday's 7/8. That's how they do it in Hollywood. Beto O'Rourke got a top headline this morning. Apparently, he's becoming the Democratic frontrunner. Hey, if you can't even win your state election, why not run you nationally? I guess you could say, well, he did pretty well in Texas, which is a red state. But again, I mean, the Democratic Party, they're always sure to run a loser. Oh, except for Barack. He was no loser, right? He just said everything was water under the bridge. Who cares about 9/11, the illegal wars? We're just going to smile about everything. Anyway, Beto O'Rourke, from his birthday to today, the day of this headline, 79 days. Democrats, 79. How did they do it? How do they do it? Just like that, every single day. I always love when my critics are like, man, you must spend so much time manipulating all these numbers to make this work. It's like, nope, just the same formula every day. Measure from the birthday, run the keyword, examine the date numerology, same thing every single day. Today also has the 44 date numerology, Democrats, the plural 44. Another story in the news, Gandhi statue pulled down. Been a while since I talked about Gandhi. In 2015, I did a video on how his wife was murdered by the numbers. I don't think Gandhi was all he's hyped up to be. But I know today that Gandhi, when you flip the alphabetic order, rounds 119. I thought that was interesting. He was murdered, assassinated 70 years ago. Now he's being called a racist. Never heard Gandhi called a racist before. Maybe he was. But 70 years later, racist 70s, having a statue removed for being a racist. And then racist also has that gematria 47, and to the anniversaries of assassination, from today's news to that anniversary is 47 days. So I assume that's why we're hearing about Gandhi being a racist today. Also big in the news, this broke last night, it's big today too. Kanye West accuses Drake of threatening him and his family. And I know it's from Kanye's birthday to the news breaking yesterday was 188 days. And we know Bavarian Illuminati equals 188. They were established with 13 families. Kanye's 41 right now, the 13th prime. Remember the dollar bill full of 13s and Illuminati symbolism, the denominations of the U.S. bill, the 1, the 2, the 5, the 10, the 20, the 50, the 100. Added up, it sums to 188. Illuminati, 120 and 48. Kanye West, 120 and 48. And I guess I forgot to finish my post here because I know something else is supposed to be up here, how Drake relates. So let's go to the Bavarian Illuminati establishment date. Established by Adam Weishaupt, May 1st, 1776, just before the American Revolution. There's Adam Weishaupt. His name equals 51 in the most pure cipher, just like conspiracy. As I'm going to show you here in a moment, this news broke on Drake's 51st day of his age. Adam Weishaupt, 51, May 1st, the establishment date, 5-1, conspiracy. So, Drake birthday, October 24th. So from October 24th, 2018 to the day this news broke, which was December 13th, was Drake's 51st day of his age. It was also 1 month and 20 days. And let's come back and look at it one more time. Where is it? Illuminati, 120. Kanye West, 120. You think it's an accident? Do you think it's an accident? I don't. Not at all. Drake and Kanye West both also have that gematria 33, like masonry, like secrecy, like order. Also in the world of entertainment, I learned something new about Philip Rivers. Last night, the Chargers paid $170 if you bet 100 on them. It was a close call last night. We figured the Chargers would win it. They had the magic number for Thursday Night Football, and they prevailed. They put up a stat last night on ESPN that out of something like out of 1,100 teams to be in the situation the Chargers were in last night, only 4 have ever won. So astronomical odds, unless the script is in, which it was. Get the bogus pass interference call at the end to set it up at the goal line. Oh, I don't know how people fall for it. But anyway, I learned that Philip Rivers, who's Catholic, goes by this Latin phrase that I can't pronounce, nunc coepi, something like that, coepi, soepi, doesn't matter. The phrase has this gematria of 143, like Scottish Rite or Freemasonry. Again, American football accredited to the Scottish Rite Freemason. Walter Camp, the Scottish Rite has the overlap with the Jesuits, Jesuits, Catholic Church, Latin. Philip Rivers is Catholic. So, in light of the Scottish Rite, the Chargers improved to 11-3 last night. The Chiefs fell to 11-3. Scottish won 1-3. This Latin phrase means now I begin. And I noticed that now I begin has gematria 53 like Vesica Pisces, which is the shape of the football. Religion's also 53. No, again, that's why there's the 53-man roster, the 53-yard wide field. The phrase also has gematria, the Latin phrase also has gematria 46, like now I begin, what it means, like Catholic. Again, religion 5346. This right here made me laugh. Philip Rivers, yes, I'm Catholic. I don't know if this was an accident or not, but I thought, how perfect. Minute 45, that's like how now I begin equals 145 in Catholic. And like how Jake Butt, the tight end, was the 145th pick of the NFL draft by the Denver Broncos after playing at Michigan. And right after his college coach at Michigan, Jim Harbaugh, had just met the Catholic Pope. Again, Jake Butt, tight end, Catholic Church, get it? Think about it. Denver Broncos drafted him, 71. He fell to the 145th pick, the Catholic number. Denver Broncos, 71, Catholic, 71. And he went to Michigan, 46. The cow Catholic is also 46. AFK, the 35th president, dead at 46. The riddles cross from sports to news. The whole gang's running the show. So anyway, thought that was interesting. Philip Rivers' little motto there. Bleacher Report put up this headline last night. NFL team secures playoff spot with epic comeback. Notice they got number 33 front and center. Epic. Must be another coincidence, huh? Got to send a shout out to my man who calls in regularly from Arizona. I can't show it to you because the video is too small on my phone, but anybody who recorded the game last night can verify this. 100% factual. Just before the Chargers did the 2-point conversion to win the game at the end of the game, the announcer said, so far this season, the Chargers are 5 for 7 on 2-point conversions. And right as they said that, they panned the camera to the referee on the field and just let it sit there with the jersey number 68. So think about it. The announcer says, so far this year, the Chargers are 5 for 7. Then right on cue, they go to jersey number 68 and just let it sit on the camera. And this is why I need to start watching the games again, because I'm missing out on these things. I used to make a lot of short videos just recording the TV, showing these types of things. But 5 for 7, they're about to go 6 for 8, like 68. And if you saw this play at the end, I mean, it's just such a joke. How's the guy who's caught every pass all game going to be left completely wide open with no man within 20 feet of him? You know, this is the guy they've thrown the ball to all night. The whole game's on the line, and nobody's even going to guard him. They're just going to let him run to a whole section. You see these guys over here? This is like as close as anyone was over on the other side of the field. How? How's that even possible? It's just so dumb, you guys. Pro sports are just so dumb. They really are. And then also they said that thing about 5 for 7, and then look at what the score ends up being, 29-28, 57 points. What's 57 again? Scottish is 1-1-3. Both teams became 11-3. Scottish writes 57. 29 points for the winner. Football 29. You had Eric Berry, number 29, back for the Chiefs. And how many times have I said that they love to do this? You know, they love to do this to a home crowd on prime time. This year on Thursday Night Football, home teams have overwhelmingly won. The record this year is 12-3 now for the home team on Thursday Night Football. We talked about this yesterday in Decode. Whoop, got to spell right. Missouri's 123. Last night's game was in Missouri. Home teams are now 12-3 after the loss in Kansas City. And all these fans were so amped. They were up 14 points with 5 minutes left. It's almost a sure win. Unless they got the scripted upset special. Get your hopes up just to bring them down. Then you go home feeling even worse than you did before. Oh, yeah. Also, last night, they had a retirement ceremony for Tony Gonzalez. And like I routinely say, almost every single time there's a retirement ceremony for a home team player at halftime, that team, the home team, will lose. It's almost every single time. It's got to be above 90%, the ratio of how often that happens. Another thing, a lot of people asked if I could look at this Raptors-Warriors game. Raptors upset the Warriors, missing their star player Kawhi Leonard. Notice they won with 113. The National Basketball Association equals 113. Warriors go down with 93. Oracle Arena equals 93. Remember when the Cavs won Game 7 in the NBA Finals, they won 93-89 on the real King James's birthday. King James 89. Warriors stayed at 19 wins on the day, leaving 19 days left in the year. It's all mockery. That game was 39 weeks after Steph Curry's birthday. Team going down with 93. Warriors made 39 shots, 39 out of 82, like the 82-game season, like pro basketball equals 82. So we're going to leave it there. I got to be back on to do the NFL decode for the weekend. Hope you appreciated the presentation. We'll be back Monday. Thank you, everyone, for supporting. Until next time, Truth Seekers.